The stupid man trusts easily. He opens his gates before knowing if the man at the door carries a gift or a dagger. He assumes that words are truth and smiles are loyalty. He does not test character. He does not measure intent. He believes. And belief, when handed out without caution, becomes the leash by which smarter men lead him to his downfall. Such a man lives in a fantasy where the world is fair, where loyalty is natural, and where betrayal is rare. He mistakes politeness for sincerity and attention for admiration, but the wise understand most men serve their own interest first. Loyalty must be earned, not assumed. Yet the fool hands out his trust like bread to beggars, and then curses fate when his kindness is devoured by wolves. The stupid man fails to realize that deception is the oldest tool of power. He does not study the eyes that avoid his gaze, the words too carefully chosen, the praise that comes too quickly. He lets flattery mold his opinion. He lets sweet words silence his instincts. A man who does not doubt is already defeated, for he has placed his mind into the hands of another. When he speaks, he reveals his secrets easily, assuming the listener is a friend. He gives access to his plans, his fears, his desires, never asking what the other man wants in return. He assumes mutual goodwill when in reality he is being studied. The intelligent man observes first, then decides what to reveal. The fool skips the observation and thus becomes the observed. He surrounds himself with people who exploit his need to feel good. He confuses validation with respect. He lets others close not because they are proven, but because they are pleasant. In his eyes, discomfort is a warning sign. In truth, discomfort often signals the presence of truth. But he chooses warmth over wisdom, and in doing so, walks straight into manipulation. He is blind to history, both personal and political. He doesn't remember who hurt him last year, or who lied to him last week. He offers second chances without demand for repentance. He lets others rewrite the past because he has no interest in remembering it correctly. The stupid man does not keep account, and those who do not keep account are robbed again and again. Trust to him is a default setting. He starts every encounter assuming the best. This is not generosity, it is laziness. It is a refusal to take responsibility for his own protection. The world is full of predators, and he walks through it with his head high and his guard down, believing that goodness will shield him. But goodness without strategy is weakness, and weakness invites attack. There is no virtue in trusting those who have not earned it. The man who trusts too easily thinks himself noble, but nobility without caution is not virtue. It is vanity. He wants to be seen as good, rather than be safe. He mistakes the performance of morality for strength. In the end, he becomes not the admired, but the used. The stupid man speaks more than he listens. He is in love with his own voice, enchanted by the sound of his words echoing in the air. He mistakes volume for influence and verbosity for intelligence. Every conversation becomes his stage, every silence a threat to his fragile ego. He does not speak to understand. He speaks to be seen, to be heard, to dominate through noise instead of substance. He reveals too much, not because he is honest, but because he is undisciplined. He leaks strategy like a cracked vessel leaks water. He tells others what he thinks, what he plans, what he fears, believing that transparency is power, unaware that he is handing weapons to those who will one day use them against him. He assumes that sharing equals bonding, not realizing that the wise man listens and withholds while the fool exposes and bleeds. He interrupts the wise to impress the crowd. He corrects others not to add value, but to inflate his presence. He cannot bear silence because silence demands thought, and thinking is something he avoids. He would rather speak and be wrong than pause and be seen as uncertain. But certainty without knowledge is arrogance, and arrogance without awareness is fatal. His words betray him. They tell the world how little he understands, how shallow his depth truly is. When others speak, he waits not to understand but to respond. He hears tones, not meanings. He searches for opportunities to redirect the spotlight back to himself. He pretends to listen while constructing his next sentence. This is not conversation, it is performance. And in every performance, the truth is lost beneath the costume of ego. He reveals his intentions too early. He tells people what he wants before he understands who he's dealing with. He lays out his desires, his goals, his terms, believing that being open will earn respect. But respect is never given to the man who exposes his desperation. The wolves smell hunger in his words. They nod as he speaks, they agree as he explains, and they sharpen their teeth behind the mask of interest. He cannot detect deception because he never stops talking long enough to notice it. He does not read expressions. He does not catch contradictions. He does not observe reactions. The truth dances in silence, but he is too loud to hear it. The clever man watches the eyes, the pauses, the inconsistencies. The stupid man fills every gap with sound, unaware that he is silencing his only chance to learn. He believes speaking is control, but real control lies in restraint. The man who listens learns patterns. He gathers leverage. He sees through illusion. But the fool rushes to reveal himself, to narrate his every thought, to parade his opinions like banners in a war he doesn't understand. He becomes predictable, and predictability is weakness in the hands of a cunning enemy. He equates expression with power, unaware that the more he speaks, the more power he gives away. A secret kept is a weapon. A secret spoken is ammunition for someone else's weapon. He holds no mystery, no threat, no enigma. He is an open book in a world where unreadable minds rule silently from the shadows. The stupid man avoids conflict to please others. He believes that silence is peace and that bending is strength. He fears disapproval more than he fears failure. In every room, he asks himself how not to offend, how to blend in, how to be liked. He trades the truth for comfort, thinking that harmony is won through submission. But in reality, harmony born of fear is just quiet resentment waiting to erupt. He confuses avoidance with wisdom. When faced with confrontation, he backs down, not because he has calculated the cost of battle, but because he dreads the discomfort of disagreement. He would rather nod than challenge, rather agree than assert. He chooses the path of least resistance, thinking it will protect him. What it protects is his illusion of safety, not his position, not his dignity. Every time he surrenders to keep the peace, he trains others to ignore his voice. He apologizes for things he did not do, just to keep others happy. He says yes when he means no. He smiles when he is disrespected. His boundaries are as weak as his will. He believes that saying nothing makes him noble, but his silence only emboldens those who test him. People do not respect a man who swallows every insult, who hides his fire, who would rather be accepted than right. He builds relationships on compliance. He attracts those who want control, not connection. Because he gives in so easily, he becomes the perfect servant to those with stronger desires. He is not loved, he is used. The people around him may keep him close, but only because he's easy to manage. He is not a threat, and in a world ruled by dominance and influence, being non-threatening is the same as being invisible. His fear of conflict infects every area of his life. In business, he takes bad deals just to avoid negotiation. In friendship, he tolerates betrayal without confrontation. In love, he accepts disrespect and calls it compromise. He cannot lead because leadership demands the courage to say no. It demands confrontation when necessary. But he has trained himself to believe that rejection is death. So he says yes to everything and stands for nothing. He cannot be trusted in moments that require strength. When the pressure rises, he will choose escape. When loyalty is tested, he will side with the strongest voice, not the truest one. He will betray principle just to avoid discomfort. And worse, he will rationalize it afterward, calling his weakness diplomacy. But diplomacy without backbone is just cowardice in costume. He becomes bitter over time. Deep down, he knows he is a coward, even if he refuses to admit it. He watches others speak their mind, take what they want, hold their ground, and he envies them. But envy cannot replace courage. He thinks being liked is the same as being respected. He doesn't see that the men who are truly respected are the ones who are willing to be hated if necessary. The stupid man values pleasure over purpose. His days are built around ease, not excellence. He wakes up seeking comfort, not conquest. He chases distractions that dull his senses: food, entertainment, praise, lust, anything that saves him from the burden of discipline. He lives not to build, but to consume, and in his pursuit of momentary pleasure, he forfeits the long game of power, legacy, and mastery. He avoids anything that requires struggle. To him, effort is punishment. He fears sweat, sacrifice, and solitude. He chooses the soft path, the agreeable task, the praise-filled environment. He looks for shortcuts in everything, refusing to suffer, refusing to endure. But nothing of value is ever gained without pain, and every man who rises must crawl through hardship. The stupid man does not rise. He floats in mediocrity, lulled to sleep by his addictions to ease. He cannot delay gratification. He must have everything now. He spends what he hasn't earned. He eats what he hasn't hunted. He celebrates what he hasn't achieved. His mind is chained to impulse. Every decision he makes is dictated by emotion, not strategy. He follows whatever feels good in the moment, unaware that each indulgence robs him of something far greater, the man he could have become if he had chosen purpose over pleasure. He mocks those who are driven. He calls them obsessed, too serious, too rigid. He does not understand them, so he resents them. He cannot grasp the mindset of those who sacrifice today for power tomorrow. Their discipline exposes his laziness. Their consistency humiliates his flakiness, and so he avoids them, surrounding himself with other pleasure chasers who reinforce his lifestyle and validate his weakness. He never finishes what he starts. As soon as a task becomes difficult, he drops it. As soon as boredom appears, he escapes. He doesn't build skill, he samples it. He doesn't commit, he dabbles. In relationships, in work, in thought. He quits before he's tested. He lives on the surface, never digging deep enough to extract real strength or knowledge. His life is a graveyard of abandoned goals and half-built ambitions. He calls rest self-care and excuses his laziness with modern slogans. He uses mental health as a shield against challenge, not as a path to resilience. He cannot distinguish between recovery and retreat. He thinks any demand placed on him is oppression, but freedom without responsibility is just decay. He mislabels his decay as peace and wonders why he feels empty. He is controlled by pleasure because he has never ruled over himself. He does not master his urges, they master him. He is a slave who thinks he is free because his chains are invisible. But a man who cannot say no to his own impulses will never be able to say yes to anything higher. He will never achieve greatness because greatness demands suffering, and he has trained himself to fear it more than failure. The stupid man cannot learn from defeat. Failure to him is a wound he refuses to touch, a mirror he refuses to look into. He does not study his mistakes, he escapes them. He blames others, circumstances, bad luck, anything to avoid facing the fact that he was simply not good enough. His ego is too fragile to admit error, and so he repeats it again and again, locked in a cycle of self-destruction disguised as bad fortune. He treats failure as an end, not a teacher. When something breaks, he throws it away. When something resists him, he walks away. He believes that difficulty is a sign to quit, not a sign to grow. He cannot see that pain is information. To the wise man, every loss reveals a weakness that can be corrected. But to the fool, every loss is a personal attack, an insult, a reason to retreat deeper into delusion. He surrounds himself with people who tell him he's right. He avoids critique like a plague. He seeks comfort over correction. And so, he never improves. His flaws become permanent because no one is allowed to challenge them, not even himself. He confuses pride with strength, but it's not strength to ignore your flaws. It's cowardice dressed in arrogance. He chooses to protect his self-image instead of developing his actual self. He learns nothing from history. His own past is a blur of wasted opportunities and repeated choices. He forgets the lesson as soon as the pain fades. He moves forward with the same broken mindset that failed him before, expecting a different outcome. And when he fails again, he calls the world unfair. But the world is not unfair. The world is ruthless to those who refuse to evolve. He hates those who surpass him. Their success reminds him of what he could have achieved if he had learned, adjusted, and improved. But envy is easier than effort. So he resents the strong, mocks the disciplined, and avoids the wise. He sees growth in others and calls it luck. He cannot understand the silent sacrifices, the brutal self-honesty, the endless refining that power requires, because he has never done it. He has only escaped. When he loses, he looks outward. He looks for someone to blame, someone to punish, someone to accuse. But the mirror is always missing from his life. And without the mirror, he never sees the true cause of his failure. He is a man who walks into the same fire, expecting not to be burned, then curses the flame instead of questioning why his skin never learns. The stupid man builds nothing from pain. Pain breaks him, not builds him. It crushes his spirit instead of forging it. He walks away from every defeat smaller, not sharper. His confidence drains because it was never rooted in competence. And when the time comes again to act, to lead, to win, he fails once more because he is the same man who failed before, untouched by the lessons he refused to learn. The stupid man is not defined by his lack of knowledge, but by his refusal to confront truth. He trusts too quickly, speaks too much, avoids the fires that forge real strength, worships pleasure over purpose, and refuses to rise from his own failures. He is not harmless, he is dangerous to himself. His weakness is not soft, it is corrosive. It rots potential, sabotages progress, and invites predators to circle. In a world ruled by strategy, discipline, and resilience, stupidity is not ignorance, it is blindness by choice. And the man who chooses blindness deserves everything the darkness brings.